Welcome to Kutniti Foundation. Today, as a PsyOps, I will show you on my screen, step by step, how to improve the war narrative of India. Let's go. Okay, so here you can see my screen. I divided the recent events in 5 sequences. The Pahalgam attack itself, the strike on terrorist camps, the strike on air bases, the counterattack of Pakistan, and the ceasefire by itself. So when you build a narrative, you need to answer all these questions. That's the fundamentals. Where, when, who on the Pakistani side, who on the Indian side, what happened, how, why, and the outcome of the events. So to fill this first column, which is the Indian version, we used the official communication of government of India, the press release in India, the Indian media, even what influencers on Indian social media said. And we also use what the recent delegation of MPs over the world said. So it gives, for example, for the first sequence, Pahalgam attack, that's the story of India. In J&K in India, the 22nd of April 2025, Pakistan trained terrorists murdered Indian tourists to disrupt peace in J&K. And it is the largest casualties from 2008, and it triggers the Operation Sindoor. That's the narrative of India. And then to write the foreign version, we do the same thing. We use sources like Wikipedia. Wikipedia has a lot of issues, but it's still a very important source in the world. We use foreign media. You know that we analyze every day the media of 23 countries. Also foreign social media. And there can be some variations, but it is the meta, like that's the meta of what the world said about the Pahalgam attack. It happened in Indian administrated Kashmir on the same date. Gunmen killed tourists, and it's a border dispute that's there for 80 years, and it can trigger conflict between 2 nuclear nations. So that's 2 narratives, the Indian one and the foreign one. And now what we'll try to do is to have an upgraded narrative. So for the 5 sequences, I'll give you some elements of narration for all those points. But remember, Indian government gave a very strong answer to Pakistan. The Indian army did an incredible work, and the Indian population was really united in this difficult time. My goal here is just to use my PsyOps experience to fight the narrative front. War is over, but narrative is forever. Look, we still talk today about 1971. So my goal is that together we write history. When we look first at the Pahalgam attack, what we want to avoid is to be too much in the narrative of being a historical border dispute that lasts just forever. So for the where, the main issue is to be stuck on Kashmir. We published a report recently where we analyzed foreign media, and they reported that event on the location. It happened for them in a place called Kashmir, which is not in a country, or in some sort of foreign territory administrated by India. For me, it should just be in India, because the second you name Kashmir, it becomes a border dispute. It's not very clear if it's part of India or not, and that's a big issue. On the date side, the date by itself doesn't carry any information. What is interesting is the fact that it happened during the PM visit to Saudi Arabia with MBS, and during also the visit of the Vice President of USA in India. So when you emphasize a lot on those 2 elements, remember that these 2 countries are very powerful. They have to react. You pull them, you drag them with you in the conflict, and they have to basically take a side fast. On the Pakistani side, India used a very good term. I really like that narrative, Pakistan trained terrorists, because the rest of the world didn't acknowledge the terrorist nature of that attack. They use terms like gunmen or insurgents. So that's a very, very good term. Then, here it's a big problem. The rest of the world wrote tourists. Not because they found that term, it's because it was used by India. They would not have used it otherwise. The problem I have with tourists is the fact that we need to remember that India is a massive country. You can be a tourist inside India, But in most of the countries in the world, they are smaller. And when you say tourist, it means a foreigner. So that expression makes the whole narrative feel that Kashmir is a foreign entity of India, that India administrates, and we send tourists over there, and the local population of Kashmiri don't like it, so they attack the tourists. Need to use just basically Indians or Hindus if we use the religious angle. Murder, killed are very criminal-related terms, and they lack the intention that have a term like assassination. But overall, I prefer to say it's a slaughter or butchery or something which is more violent and graphic. About the why, I think here we'll talk about that part in the next sequences. But basically, we need really to expose more than a border dispute, but the global problem of Pakistan, which is to be the nexus of terrorism in the world. Otherwise, again, it will be seen as a local conflict. You need to remember one thing. Terrorism is not gang violence. Terrorism is targeted violence plus marketing. The marketing angle is very important. And the problem with that is we focus too much on the violence part. When you say something like, it's the largest casualties from 2008, honestly, it's not very impactful. It was like almost 20 years ago. It sounds like, yeah, for the last 20 years, we got, we lost one person there. India has like 2 million people who die every year from pollution. It won't impact anyone. Every part of the world has terrorist attacks. Even if you look just few days before this attack in India, in Nigeria, 56 Christians were killed by jihadis. So it happens all the time. You can't expect a big response from the world just because you had people who die. It's unfortunate, but it's like this. And India doesn't have a strong soft power, so doesn't have the empathy movements, no hashtag like pray for India or anything like this. And if you look at what the foreign media said, what they like in this conflict, why they reported it, is because it's between two nuclear nations. And if you look at social media, who go one step further, it's always videos and tweets about risk of World War III and everything, because that's fancy and it sells. But our narrative should not be on that. It should not be on the violence part. It should be on the marketing part. I'll explain that a bit later also. And really focus on the fact that Pakistan is a global nexus of world terrorism. For the second sequence, we have the strike on terrorist sites. So it happened, according to India, in Pakistan-occupied J&K. Again, it gives this border dispute vibe. You will see here what we'll try to play is the narrative of Pakistan. Pakistan claims that they have themselves a problem of terrorism on their soil, and they try to solve it. So, okay, no problem. Let's say that India hit terrorist enclaves inside Pakistan that they don't control. It's a bit like, you see these Islamic no-go zones that exist in Europe. When we need to praise the Indian intel. So here the number is very good. It's very impressive to be able to hit 9 sites in a country in a very, very short period of time. The issue I have here is with the word site. Site is a very neutral term. A terrorist site is just like location. There is a slightly better term, which is camp. Camp means where people rest and sleep, but there is much better. There is training center. A training center is where terrorists come from, is where they are created. So you want to stop that. It sounds like something where they all pop. And there is even better, there is terrorist headquarters, which is where they plan everything and everything is decided. So we need to shift from using a very neutral term like site to terrorist headquarters and training centers. And basically it is exactly what it is. So why not using those terms? Let's attack the top of the pyramid. Then India, about the what and how. So India gave a name to this operation, Operation Sindoor. It's a beautiful term. The logo is incredible. I think for any India, it resonated. The only small issue with that is the fact that sindoor is not very known abroad. I think when I was a kid, the only lady in France where I grew up who used to wear sindoor was my mother. And no one knew what it was. It was something which was not culturally known at all. So maybe we can have a subtitle for this operation, something that the rest of the world can understand, and we'll push them maybe to Google what is sindoor. So I wrote one example here, but maybe you can put in comment if you have better punchlines or taglines for this operation sindoor. Then hitting terrorist infrastructure. Infrastructure, again, I'm not a big fan. It sounds like we hit a bridge. We did much more than that. But then what following is very important. It's focused, measured, non-escalatory, and no Pakistani military facility were engaged. So hear me out. What India tried to do was not at all a military operation. The 7th of May was not a military operation. It was a police operation, a large-scale cross-border police operation. Why? Because in the narrative of Pakistan, they went to US and in February, they got $400 million from US for F-16 fighter jets. And their excuse was that they will use them only to fight terrorism. So that means that Pakistan recognized that they have problem of terrorism on their soil and that using fighter jets to tackle this problem, it's a good operation. Okay? So what India is doing is just doing the job of Pakistan. It's a friendly contribution to solve their problems. US did it on their soil with someone called Bin Laden. It was not a problem for them. And to emphasize on that, the narrative of India here is incredibly good. India didn't suppress any air defense system because it was not a war, it was just a police operation. And India did a BVR operation without crossing the border and entering the Pakistani airspace. So it's purely a police operation. We'll see later how they reacted to that. About the why, again, the goal was to put an end to the nexus of global terrorism that exists inside Pakistan. We will see later if there is a link between Pakistan government and these terrorist groups. On the outcome, the issue was Pakistan spoke first. And speaking first in narrative warfare is very important because whatever comes after sounds like a justification. So we can recognize that from Pakistan. They spoke first. Their message was very clear. And they just went to an infinite list of claims. They destroyed so many funny things in India. And no one can verify because the problem in warfare is the fact that it's easy to prove that you shot a land target because satellite imagery is public. But satellites don't work like your mobile phone camera. They can't really capture, they almost can capture planes being shot or this kind of thing. So then after it becomes just a war of pictures of debris and all those kind of things. So we should not entertain Pakistan on that front. If they have a claim, just prove it. They use video games content or pictures from the US Army to prove what is impossible to prove. And also remember that a social media post is not proof, it doesn't work like this. So we should not entertain them here. Every time they have a claim, show us proof. When India hits something, we have satellite proof that anyone can verify. They can provide the same things. Our focus should be on the fact that we did a police operation on the land of Pakistan to help them to crush the nexus of war terrorism that Pakistan is. When we say that Pakistan supports terrorism in India, we are missing the big picture. Look, this is the big picture. Every Islamist terrorist group in the world is a subsidiary of Pakistan. And this map is just showing some examples. It's not 10% of the whole problem. India is addressing an issue for the world, and they will have to realize it. Then what happened? Pakistan was not happy with the Indian friendly help. And instead, they sent hundreds of drones and missiles towards India. They escalated the conflict. They supported the Pakistani terrorists that were targeted. They even attended their funerals. So Pakistan showed to the world that Pakistani terrorists and Pakistani military complex are the two sides of the same coin. So India exposed this duality and had to strike this military complex. How? By doing precision strikes. So precisions, there is a slight problem with this term. It has been overused over the last 25 years. You remember all those surgical strikes. So a better term should be metric warfare, and it has been used by a lot of foreign military specialists. What I like about it is the fact that when you are able to touch by night hundreds of kilometers behind the border, the runway of a airbase of Pakistan, it's not to harm people. It's to show that you can touch at a radius of 1 meter. It's extremely scary. And not only on one air base, but on 11 of them. So India uses the term anywhere. Here we can make a good combo. 11 air bases anywhere in Pakistan. It's basically everywhere in Pakistan. Let's use that. And about the date, 10th of May, in fact, if we zoom in, we realize it was not one full night of combat. It was few very small operations that each of them lasted few minutes. And in few minutes, every time India was able to strike multiple air bases deep inside the territory of Pakistan till noon, and we'll come back on that in 1 minute. So that was very impressive. And basically what India did here is a time-space demonstration of excellence. India can do whatever it wants with Pakistan, and everything is source and proof. Following that, Pakistan desperately launched the main phase of the operation Bunyan-un-Marsoos. The name is absolutely horrible. It just sounds like a terrorist group. It's the same word format than LET or JEM. And they are not able to mirror the damages that India inflicted to them. By the way, Wikipedia is reporting this whole conflict on a page called Zone 25 Indo-Pak conflict. But it would be interesting that if someone could open a page for Operation Sindoor and a page for the Operation Bunyan-un-Marsoos, because it will decorrelate the two operations, and by comparing, we could mirror the efficiency of both. So at the end, Pakistan is not able to damage anything much in India. You can lie on air claims, but you can't lie on land claims. Pakistan then, which has the economic stability of a crackhead, has no way to continue the conflict. So in the morning, they assess the damages they suffer, and by noon, they reach to the Americans and the Indians to ask for a ceasefire. So I won't enter in the narrative of ceasefire. I don't think it's very smart to have a separated narrative for ceasefires, because it's a continuity. All these last three parts were basically one morning. So we should just stay here and highlight the capitulation of Pakistan at the morning of the 10th of May, discovering the damages they suffered and not being able to answer to them. You see, the actions of Indian government and the excellence of Indian army gave us all the ingredients we need. We don't need to add more ingredients. We don't need to bring fake ingredients, but we can always be creative about the way we prepare them and present them. See you soon for Narrative Warfare, Episode 3.